So tonight we are at the tail end of a 4-month artist in residence from Jenne Glover, sitting right here. Jenny's work has been very well accepted. We've just enjoyed having your work so much here at IONA. And so as a capstone to the ending of her residency, we've invited Eric Key, who is the director at University of Maryland University College Arts Program. Someday we'll find a way to make that short, easier to say. And I'm very delighted that he's been a big supporter of the Cultural Arts Program here at IONA, and I'm a big supporter of the arts at UMUC. So it's nice to be able to have this cohesive partnership where we can connect up with each other.
For me, I always like to start at the beginning. So Jenne, why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're from, the environment, your hometown.
Okay. Well, I'm a Washingtonian, born and raised here, and been involved in the arts all of my life. Started out just being very artsy as a kid, and my father and I would spend Sundays touring the different galleries and museums in Washington, D.C. And that gave me a real appreciation for art very early on. In terms of study, I took a 2D and a 3D course from Yvonne Carter at UDC. And
before you jump there, let's go back to elementary school first.
Okay.
Where did you go to school?
Oh, I went to, oh my God, I went to a whole bunch of, I went to Bruce, Morgan, Raymond, Parkview, Banneker, Roosevelt, Coolidge, and Paul.
Well, I won't ask why in all those schools.
Because, and I told my mother one day, I said, we moved an awful lot. And she didn't believe, and my parents were educators. My mother was a pioneer in early childhood education, and she started with the WPA program under Roosevelt. And my dad was a math teacher, track coach in Howard County, and he had coached at St. Paul in Lawrenceville. And I think what happened is they were moving, and or it would be a matter of what was going to work in terms of my child care. So that's how I ended up going to so many schools.
Do you remember what the arts community was like as a young adult in D.C.?
The arts community, as a young adult.
Were there plenty of galleries?
Well, I know I would spend a lot of time at Howard University's gallery. I remember the Cobra, the Afro Cobra. Yeah, I remember that movement particularly. But in terms of just my own evolution, it's just been really trial and error for me. One of your questions was, what was my first? I'm sorry, he gave me a peek preview.
Now remember, I'm interviewing you.
I had to flip it around. Okay, I'm sorry. Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did. But what I'm trying to get at is, as a young adult, your career, you took on a different path. You didn't go into art education early. You went into management, but yet there was this light inside of you, and I guess it was aching to come out as an artist.
When I first saw my husband work, that's really what really made me want to learn and master painting. He was a wonderful oil painter, and he took time to show me just how to use the paints and all the technical stuff. And
so you had a good foundation.
Yeah, and I'm a good student. I can learn if you show me, and you take your time with me. I'll pick it up. And I think there was just a natural ability there anyway. but my first painting was yuck. I was not happy at all. But what I've done over the years is work over something if I'm not happy with it. So I don't know what that is the foundation of now, but I did reuse it.
Tell us about college. Since we've gotten to high school and early years college.
Well, I went to UDC. I started at went to Howard for a while. Then I went to Federal City College. Finished at UDC with a degree in theater arts. I was their playwright in 1985, resident playwright. I wrote a play called Kiss It to the Wind. It was about the first African-American president. And it was very, it's kind of a sci-fictional type thing. After...
Was it presented on stage?
Yeah, it was presented at the university. Okay. They have a theater that, I don't know if it's still there, called the Black Box, and it was done there. And I went to graduate school at University of Maryland University College, majored in human resources management. I'm kind of practical in terms of what I really wanted to have as a backup.
So tell us about your day job.
Oh, my day job, I'm a project manager. I run a program for people with disabilities, a summer hiring program. I manage a training center calendar, and I have one other thing that's, let me see, what is it? Oh, I do the personnel management review for the organization, and that's it's a detailed book on the demographics of our organization, you know, on salary, hiring trends. It's just a bunch of charts and stats and so forth. But so I get to use both sides of my brain.
Do you, after the 9 to 5 or 9 to 9, as most of us, when do you find time for art?
Well,
creation of art.
I work. I have my studios at home, and that makes it easy for me to work when I want to work. I work in the evenings, weekends. I'll take mental health days and work. Well, that's the beauty. I mean, you get all these leave days, so I mean, I believe in using them. I see no reason in accumulating a gazillion hours of leave when I'm not guaranteed tomorrow. So I will use my leave.
What would you say inspire you? You've worked all day, you've taken some of your leave to create art. What inspires you?
Well, you know, I've discovered one thing. That the nice thing about having a job is that when you get irked, you can go home and vent in your studio. And I do that a lot. But everything inspires me. You know, just seeing a kid walking down the street, you know, just playing might inspire me, or something I've seen on TV, or a song. I mean, an inspiration can come from almost anywhere, you know, or just a conversation with a person. Or someone saying, well, you know, had you thought about doing X, Y, and Z? And I tend to be more receptive now in terms of where an idea can come from, and just staying open to the moment.
You said you were at Howard for a short period. Were you knew any of the artists that were on that campus?
You know, it's so funny because when I initially applied to Howard, I really should have gone into theater arts. And there was a question on the application about what kinds of things I had done. And I discounted, I had discounted my life. I had studied dance since I was 5 years old. I had performed for years and years with DC Recreation, and I didn't think about that as an experience in the theater. There was a disconnect. I didn't talk to my parents about it either, so I went into liberal arts, and then there I was, a fish out of water, because I really should have gone into the arts program. So it was a journey to get to where I needed to go.
Right. travels. Tell us a little bit about your travels and how it inspired, if it inspired your work.
Well, I can say that I've done the islands a few times. That's about the extent of my travel. I've been to St. Croix, and yeah, I did a series on their carnival, St. Thomas Carnival. I've been to the Bahamas a few times, but I haven't really traveled a whole heap. But then, as a kid, I traveled all the time because we had National Geographics at home, so I was always my nose deep into the National Geographic. So that really is a wonderful way to see the world without leaving your door. So if I do something and I'm not happy with it, I will work over it. And I might even incorporate some of what was there to the next piece. And that's what happened to that piece.
Well, it kind of brings you right to this question. How do you know when you're finished? This is it. See these works here and said, that's it.
I'm intuitive. It just feels right. I look for balance, composition. I like to have something fun happen that, maybe a person will look twice. It's just really, just stepping away and looking at it like it was someone else's, and trying to be critical and objective. Okay, so what is wrong with this? Or I might even ask somebody, okay, what you think? And I've gotten some really good feedback that's it might be general, but then it gives me a direction to focus on in terms of, okay, what do I need to do to bring this around? And there's a piece out there, when we go out, I'll show it to you. I knew it wasn't right. And you can kid yourself about something.
Well, I asked that question because generally when I go to studios, I tend to find the early pieces by an artist are some of their best work. I'm not saying the first piece,
but the early
works. And I thought it was curious that your work, and you said it was it's an artist's perspective and probably just from your eyes versus, and you're probably very, very right in saying that it wasn't the best and it needed work and you wanted to work over it. But have you ever had that one piece that you thought that wasn't there yet and somebody walked in your door and said, I like that?
Yeah, that has happened, but most of the time I just try to just look at what I'm doing with a really critical eye. And either it's going to bounce to me and say, yeah, okay, this is good, this time to stop, because that's one of the things I learned is that know when to stop. Because you can keep working on something and it could be right and you just keep working on it and then you lose it. So I take my time, I'll look at it and I'll go away and peek at it from another angle just to see, okay, what I need. And if I still can't figure it out, then I'll ask somebody, another artist, okay, give me some suggestions. I have no problem with that.
But I think that brings into the conversation, most people obviously believe that art is subjective. It's in the eye of the beholder. Most of us look at art with a somewhat of a naked eye, but at the same time, each piece has its own bit of history, own bit of the artist's personality. And in some cases, it's a documented piece of art about American history. I remember years back talking to Gordon Parks, and he would always say that his choice of weapon was his camera. And so often when I talk to artists, I want to know, making art, would you say that's your choice of weapon in terms of telling your story, documenting American history, documenting your journey through life? Now, of course, given Gordon's, he was talking about dealing with racism in American society and all of that. So I'm just wondering if you, this skill that you have, you use it for so many, you use it for me, you look at it, they're colorful, they have depth, but yet there's meanings in most of the works. Childhood history. And maybe the best way to do it is let's take a couple of pieces and just talk about it.
Well, you asked a bunch of questions right
Question.
there.
Bunch of questions.
One of the things that I like about doing art is that there's no right, no wrong, and I'm in full control.
Mhm.
And it's the one place that I know that I am in control of this. And it gives me a peace of mind knowing that this is something I can do. And you know, if it's a mess, that's okay. It's something I wanted to make a mess. And if I'm not happy with it, then I can work on it some more. But I don't have somebody dictating to me, you know, no, you need to do it this way, that way. No, it's mine. And I guess the biggest honor for me is that when other people want a piece of it.
Mhm.
That to me was a very special moment to recognize and realize that, oh, okay, all right, so I can sell these things too. Oh, you know.
The light bulb goes on.
Yeah. But at the same time, I mean, I've kept my day job because it helps me keep my sanity.
Mhm.
Because what I was doing when I didn't have that day job and I had a bill to pay, I was just about giving the work away.
Mhm.
That was crazy.
Mhm.
And I mean, I would love to have some of those early pieces again. That I just really, I mean, yeah, I got my bill paid, but it was like, no, this is,
But having said that, that brings me to one of the questions. Is there a certain amount of enjoyment, do you paint to sell, or do you paint to create?
I paint to create. And the selling is a side effect.
Caviar.
Yeah,
Getting that check and somebody else.
yeah.
enjoy
I mean, because
appreciate
it's,
the work.
to me, it's just the pieces become, they're like children almost. So it's like parting with them. It's really very emotional. You know, I like to know it's going to a good home and it's going to be valued, appreciated, and respected, you know. But it's a satisfaction for me. I do it because it's good therapy. So I started out like an assembly line. I took 12 canvases. I painted the sides. And then I started throwing paint. And then I looked at it and said, okay, do I see anything? Because sometimes you just get something just, you know, by accident. You know, it might be a face, it might be a kid holding a dog. It's like looking into the clouds. I mean, you see all kinds of images within the clouds. And so I look at this, you know, something, well, do I have anything here? And if I do, then I'll start work with that. So I've done 6. And I want to do a few more before the month is out.
You remind me so much of the little girl, the innocence.
Well, you know, when I work, I like to try to stay in touch with that kid inside of me. I think that's very important because kids don't worry about if you're painting out the line or, you know, and I think that's very important. You know, why should I put restrictions on my creativity? So I was like, okay, all right, relax. Okay, what would you do if you were 5?
Mhm.
You know, and that's part of the process for me is to try to just stay connected.
Who would be some of your favorite artists?
Romeo Barrett, Jacob Lawrence, Joseph Halston, Gwen Aqui,
Textile?
Bernie.
Now, just don't name artists because they're here.
No, but I collect her work.
She's a collector.
So you're a collector.
Yeah, I collect. Thanks, and that was another thing. Gwen got me started collecting. And you know, when you're an artist, you have so much stuff around already. It's like, well, do I have room for it? But it's really nice having other artists' work in my environment. And one of the things that And I do Voice and Art. It's a e-newsletter, and I interview different artists. And one of the artists that I interviewed was oh my, having to sing. Thank you, Paul. How did you know? Yeah. Paul Goodnight. And one of the things he said was that he fills his studio with other artists' work. And I understand that. I said, that's brilliant, because it gives you all this other inspiration as you're working. So that's what I'm doing now.
Inspiration also help you to find your own voice.
And just, okay, well, what did they do? How did they make that work? You know, something to reflect on.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're artists that you like what they're doing, then you know you can steal.
Extend it long.
Yeah, well, you know, take it and tweak it, you know. So yeah, I get ideas from my fellow artists all the time.
Okay, good. Now, a little bit about these our philosophical questions.
God.
21st century artists.
Oh.
Where are we going?
Where are we going?
Yes, where are we going?
You mean you want me to speak for the artists of the
21st
21st?
century artists.
I can't do that.
Where are you going with your art?
Well, you know what I'm really hoping to do. I'm a senior citizen now, and I would love to be able
So that raises another question. What does
retire and do my artwork full time.
Yes.
Amen. But no, some of my friends, they're almost senior citizens, or they really are, but they don't want to own up to it. But you know, I wear it with like a badge of honor. I know I'm glad to be alive.
Amen.
So I just really, that's what I want to have happen. I long for that day, but I'm trying to be patient. Now I feel like it's balanced and that it works, but I knew that I can always tell when it's not working.
What is this?
I had
Civil War?
yeah,
Army?
yes, it is a Civil War. I got a book in Gettysburg, and it had all these old images on CDs, and just put those balls and just worked around it, and I'm just always trying to have a nice contrast with the most influence over my life. For Voicing Art, I'm Jenne Glover. See you next time.